So we'll jump in. We got a bunch of people in the Zoom, and so I'm going to kind of bounce around between cameras, but sorry for the delay, y'all. That was totally my fault. Anyway, the range of voice sometimes, trying to get the Zoom to work right. But thanks for joining. A little late, better late than never, but we've got Chris here as well, who is quite frankly more of an expert on BoomTown. Chris, you're on this camera too for a second. I'm going to bounce back and forth, so you can wave. But can everybody hear okay on Zoom? Thumbs up. All right. So the kind of the purpose of this meeting was to figure out what are we doing, what have we been doing, what does this sort of BoomTown e-lead system look like, and then how can we be involved if you want to be involved? So what we've been doing, BoomTown is obviously has kind of a couple parts, and so it's a database, and it allows you to create alerts and track what your buyers are looking at. But it also has a lead generation platform. Now there are certain lead generation pieces that agents can do on a one-off basis. But there's part of a system where we basically invest money with BoomTown and say, hey, go out, do a bunch of marketing on our behalf, and generate leads for us. And so we've been testing that out for the last several months, and Chris has helped to lead that process. And we've had a really small group just to make sure that we can track it, see what works, what doesn't work, and so it's worked. I don't remember how many sales we've gotten out of it. This group has gotten out of it, but it's been productive and it has worked. So wanted to expand that to others who want to be doing that. And I think one of the things we want to talk about is kind of who this is really geared toward and who it's probably not geared toward. And Chris will speak on that, but it's really, the short answer is this is going to be geared toward people, agents who are really committed to being consistent about doing this for the long term, because nobody's going to be handing you, in very rare instances this might happen, but nobody's going to be handing you a ready, willing, and able buyer who's ready to go buy something this weekend through this. These are long-term drip prospects, long-term prospects that require a lengthy maintenance schedule. The cool thing about BoomTown is that there are a lot of kind of automated tools that allow for that. And because once you get somebody in the system, you can see what they're doing. You've got access to the now wall. There's a lot of AI that will kind of yell at you and be your mom or your dad and say, hey, little Johnny, don't forget, call this person. They've looked at this probably 4 times. And so at the end of the day, it's going to be a numbers game, but the people that are good and consistent about following up will benefit the most from it. So, Chris, why don't you talk about what you've got, what you've learned through this process in terms of what works. I don't know if I just said a big echo or not. What works, what doesn't work, and kind of how you would envision this rolling out.
Yeah, like you said, it's not. It's pretty rare. I think it has happened on occasion, but it's pretty rare that someone's going to reach out on BoomTown and say, "Hey, can you please come list my home?" I actually don't know if that's happened ever. Buyers, every once in a while you might get lucky with someone who sends a showing request and is like, "I want to see this home." You meet them and they're like, "Great, let's make an offer." Usually the average online lead is 6 to 18 months out from actually doing anything. If you've never met that person in real life, you have to spend 6 to 18 months cultivating that relationship online through text, phone call, and emails. And so it's very much geared towards people who aren't afraid to be on their computer or on the phone for extended periods throughout the day. If you like interacting with people and that's sort of your kind of networking and doing all of that, this can get a little bit laborious and not quite as fun as face-to-face with people. Hello, Brent. So, I mean, kind of like Zach said, really with these, the fortune really is in the follow-up. It's how there's sort of the phrase like speed to lead. So as the sort of lead comes in, there's tons of value in trying to get in contact with that person within the first 5 minutes that they've sort of registered. And then at that point, it's about making as many contacts, like an ungodly amount of contacts, like an uncomfortable amount of contacts from every angle until you can try and get that person. So most people say you should try and make, I mean, there's some people that try and make 7 contacts the first day through text, phone calls, and emails, and 21 contacts the first week. So if you start to multiply that by how many leads you're getting in a day, you know, if you just get 4 leads in a day, that's just for those 4 people could be 20 phone calls that you make that day to just those 4 people at different times throughout the day to try and get them on the phone, and followed up with text messages and emails and everything else. So if the idea of doing something like that doesn't excite you, I think your chance for success is significantly less. The nice thing about BoomTown is it does automate a lot of those processes, but it does not automate phone calls. You cannot have BoomTown make your phone calls for you. You do have to actually make those phone calls. The text messages it does, which is great. The emails it does, which is great. And I think that if they haven't released it already, but I think they're going to be doing video text messaging on the BoomTown platform, which will be huge because really at the end of the day, video is going to trump everything else. So kind of staying, the person that's going to find success with this is the person that's willing to put in the work, because, you know, it's really 2 to 3 hours a day of being in your CRM, seeing what people are looking at, seeing when the last time you made a contact with someone was it email? Did they open it? Was it text message? Did they respond? Was it a phone call? Did you get in contact with them? Did you leave a message? And then sort of continually working those people. So as new leads come in, you do your sort of new lead reach out, and then you have your leads that have been in that you try to get in contact with that you're still trying to qualify, and then maybe there's a group of leads that you've actually contacted that said, I'm not looking to do anything for 6 months, or I'm not looking to do anything for 12 months, or I'm not looking to do anything for 18 months. So then you categorize those people as like, this person's 6 months out, this person's 12 months out. So there is an organizational kind of key component to this. So also if you're not someone that likes being highly organized, you can probably find yourself getting pretty overwhelmed. It's definitely not something, you know, if you just get 5 leads in and that's all, it's pretty easy to work those 5 leads. But if you're getting in 3 leads a day, 20 leads a week, and they start to add up, the next thing you know, you have 250 leads with new leads coming in, and you're trying to figure out, and you're not categorizing people, and you're not keeping track of what this person was the conversation that you had with this person or with that person. You're not taking good notes. It's sort of just, I mean, you kind of just get overwhelmed with it, and you don't really know what to do, and you're not really sure, and then people just kind of, the leads die, and they end up working with someone else. And so there is the aspect of organization to it that's pretty critical. And I think that the nice thing is that BoomTown does tons of automation. So that's the other part of it too, is the people I think that have success are the ones that use a lot of the automation tools. And so you do have to put some work into understanding how the system works. The nice thing is that it helps you better use the CRM as well, which is extremely valuable. And then you can also do things like run your own advertising through BoomTown, capture more leads. And there's a lot of other kind of fun tools. So if you've been interested in diving in more and really seeing what the BoomTown CRM can do for you, this could be a good opportunity. But granted, you know, it's not super simple. I mean, it's a little bit labor intensive to get things set up and to kind of come up with your systems and processes so that stuff doesn't slip through the cracks. But once you sort of, you know, it probably took us, you know, somewhere between 6 and 12 months to really sort of come up with a program that we felt was helping us not have leads slip through the cracks, that we felt was having some mild success with getting in contact with people, and really, our best chance at trying to convert these people from sort of the digital online space to like actually maybe having a real in-person meeting or contact with them. And so, I mean, if there's anything I could say, it's really the people that don't get scared about the idea of being in their BoomTown CRM, especially in the beginning, probably let's call it 2 to 3 hours a day, 4 to 5 days a week. I think that you could find success with this. If that just sounds like something that you're either not going to do or not excited to do, I think that you're going to find a lot of difficulty or frustration with these. I mean, like I said, there is an air of luck to it. So sometimes you get lucky, but the luckier, you have a better chance of getting lucky if you're sort of working the system right and putting the right things in place in order to be making the contacts and having the chance to get lucky with them actually responding to an email or a text message or a phone call.
So, and so I just realized you were on Zoom too. So is everybody able to hear okay? What we might do is, if I go to mute and then I can mute, that way, if you mute yourself for a minute, I'll switch the camera on me, and then just if I can hear off. All right. So you've got how many? Do you know roughly how many? I just looked at your BoomTown. You got over 1,000 leads in there. You got about 1,000 leads in there, and that's for the last, I don't know, year and a half. Okay. And so when we started, we probably started doing this about a year ago as a test group. And so call it 100 leads a month, give or take, 75 to 100 leads a month. Some of those are just going to be dead leads. They're not, they're kind of, Mickey Mouse type stuff. People putting in fake information. So that's always a potential, you're going to run across some of that. And then, so kind of the first step is, I guess, weeding out who's real, who's not. And then working with the real ones. But I'm just looking at some of the data you've got. I mean, right now it looks like you've got 126 people in your database that BoomTown says are high activity leads over the last few months. And so high activity meaning they're on there searching a lot, they're favoriting properties, they're involved. So you're engaging with over 100 people, which is a lot. And I think that's what you're not trying to make a negative sales pitch on this. You're just trying to say that there is a lot, and you have to kind of be systems oriented and be able to spot who the cream is, the cream of the crop. Got it. So he said, who are the real leads? Who's gonna buy or sell? So will you talk? I'm gonna mute myself. Will you unmute you and talk about kind of just some of your success stories, like roughly how many deals you've gotten and what the kind of how long that took? Maybe a story or two about kind of how that worked from a real perspective.
All right. So for me, I think, like I said, I think the program's been maybe not quite a year and a half. It was like maybe at the end of 2019, really. The first month or two, I feel like I didn't really have a game plan. I didn't really have any systems or processes. I just was like, you get a lead in, you make a phone call, and then they wouldn't answer, and you try them back in a couple days, and you try them back a couple days later. And I just realized that this was probably not the way you were supposed to do it. And so started doing a lot more research and, looking into what people that work online leads and that's sort of their thing. What are they doing? And then that's when stuff like drip campaigns came up. And then how many touches and how you do you make a phone call first? Do you do an email? Do you do text message? So then started playing around with all of the different ways that other people were having success. And once I started setting people up on drip campaigns, I feel like I started getting a lot luckier with actually getting contact with people. And I think after about 2 months of that, so total was maybe 3 to 4 months. So in sort of my 4th month, I sort of got my first chance at actually an in-person meeting with someone who wanted to, who was looking at condos, and ended up getting, I think, so basically after 4 or 5 months in, I think I got sort of 2 buyers that way, and was able to sort of, through them wanting to show houses. It was never from the first contact. I think one of them was like the 5th day. And so they had maybe had about, at that point, they had like 2 phone calls from me, 3 or 4 text messages, and gotten 2 or 3 emails. And that kind of seems to be the case. Like most of the people, it's never from the first reach out. It's usually from like somewhere between 7 and the 25th attempt at trying to get a hold of them through whether it's text message, email, or phone call. And most of the success I've found is through text message, at least for the initial contact. And so, yeah, I think.
So talk about that, because that's you. There's an automated plan
Yeah.
for that, where you're not like sitting there texting
No.
25 people a day. That's just, you set up really cool automated systems, like if this, then that.
Yep.
So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so it's all part. So the drip campaign is basically the lead comes in and it's a new lead. And then Adam and I spent a good amount of time, and we've sort of created, I think our drip campaign right now has roughly like 25 touches. That's a combination of reminders for you to make a phone call, text messages that automatically go out, and emails, in addition to the sort of automatic property search that BoomTown will sort of set up on your behalf. And so you can sort of really dive in, and when you create this sort of drip campaign, so a new lead comes in, and the very first thing it does is send me a notification that says, hey, this new lead came in, you need to make a phone call. And then I even, in that notification, I came up with a script that it actually tells me what that script is, just in case I forget, or I don't know what it is, or whatever, or I have someone else working leads for me. So that'll pop up and say, hey, this person just came in, you need to make a phone call right now, here's a script. And then you make the phone call, and you can sort of check, it's like a task box, and you can sort of check that you've done it. And then in addition to that, because I would say 95% of the people do not answer the phone call from that first time, it sends an automatic text message about 7 minutes after they register with me that says, hey, thanks for registering with me. Is there anything I can help you with right away? And then it sends an email like 6 hours later, no, 4 hours, maybe 3 or 4 hours later. That's just another like, hey, thanks for registering. Thanks for checking in with us. I'm super excited to meet you and to talk with you and see how I can help you, blah, 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 blah. And then from that point, it's a combination, basically alternates. The next day it sends another text message. The next day it sends an email. The next day it sends another text message, and also gives me another reminder to make another phone call to try and get a hold of them. And then it kind of just keeps doing that. And that first week, there's an attempt through every avenue, at least once a day, to either try and get in contact with them through phone call, text message, or email, phone call, text message, email, all the way for the first 7 days. And then it goes like every 2 days. And then it sort of goes like every 4 days. And then really it goes indefinitely, and it'll basically send them some sort of transmission for the first 6 months that they sort of come into the campaign. And I would say most of my success comes from like a text message on between day 4 and 12. And it's usually my text message that says, hey, is this whatever their name is? And then they'll usually respond and be like, yes, who is this? And be like, oh, hey, this is Chris. You registered with us. I just wanted to just follow up and see how your home search was going, blah, 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 blah. So it's about also, I mean, for a good, I would say probably 6 to 9 months, it was really about running these programs, doing it, and then making changes to it almost on like, you know, almost like on a weekly basis, making small tweaks here and there. I'd find like, oh, wow, people are responding to that text message. What happens if I move that text message earlier into the drip campaign? Can I get them to respond a little bit earlier? Or, you know, reading stuff and being like, oh, that doesn't really sound like something I would say, I guess. Let me try and change this. No one seems to respond to this email. Let's take that out and let's try a different email. And so really kind of playing around with that. And I think if the people that are kind of open and excited about that idea, I think could really find success with it. Because it is sort of a lot of like A/B split testing and figuring out like where are my contacts happening? Of all the people that I'm actually made contact with, what was it that got them to reach out? Was it my emails? Which email was it? What did that email say? What was the copy? Was it my text message? What did that text message say? How many days after them registering did that text message go out? How many attempts had I made prior to that before they actually responded? And keeping track of all that information so that you can continually make modifications and tweaks to improve your conversion ratio. Because at the end of the day, it's not about how many leads you get. It really doesn't matter. You could get 5,000 leads, but if you're not working them right, you're not going to be able to convert any of them, and it's going to be a big waste of your time and money. So I would rather up my conversion ratio by continually working on drip campaigns and my phone call scripts and like what I'm talking about, than be getting a ton of leads that I can't convert even if I'm getting all these leads.
And so one of the things to point out is that you've got, you've been obviously doing this and doing all this A/B testing. And so part of that is to be able to share those, you know, those templates and those plans, those if this, then that, you know, 7 minutes later, an hour later, 2 days later, et cetera. Here's all the stuff that happens, is to be able to share those with agents. And again, that'll give you a template. It's a proven success template. If you want to tweak it, you have the ability to kind of tweak it to your liking. But I just want to make sure agents didn't feel like they were starting from scratch on that front. And so basically, what this does is there's a cost to this. So we basically have to pay BoomTown an advertising fee. And then they go out and target based on kind of our areas. They use Google AdWords and other platforms like that to try to generate leads. So it's different than Boost, but it's similar from the concept of Boost. It's not advertising a specific listing. It's advertising to just try to capture people who may be primarily people who are looking for houses to try to get them on the site. And then the only thing that you wouldn't get a lead for is if somebody's looking at a village listing on the village website, that's going to go straight to the listing agent, just for obvious reasons. So, but if somebody's looking at a Remax listing on the village site, then it would go in kind of a round robin pattern to this group. And so the cost is basically $100 a month, and then you have to pay the $50 a month to have the kind of the full suite of BoomTown. So it's in total $150 a month. And we're taking that $100 a month and just, you know, if we have 10 people, then we've got $1,000 and we give BoomTown $1,000. If we got 50 people, then we give BoomTown $5,000 and say, go run with this from an advertising standpoint, so that it's even across the board. And then again, just kind of a round robin setup from that standpoint. And then if there's a closing, there's just a 20% referral fee back to Village for any closings that result from that. And that's it. So that's kind of the pretty simple cost structure of it to be able to make it work. So from the I guess let's take a minute. I'm sure there's some questions out there turn my volume up here. What questions do y'all have so far? A questionless crew. So the process is basically going to be, oh, somebody have a question? Who's that?
Oh, it's Virginia. I don't know that I'm even on, or can you hear me?
We can hear you. We can't see you, but we can hear you.
Oh, yeah, it's because I'm driving around. It does sound like a lot of work. I have kind of messed around with it a little bit, not to the extent that Chris and Adam have, but sounds like a lot of work and a lot of money. I'm just putting that out there.
You said, say that part, sorry, it cut out there a little bit. Say that.
Oh, it sounds like a lot of work and a lot of investment.
Right. So again, and that's we got a lot of people that want to do this. We have some people that, quite frankly, there's some people that this is. I'll just say this is a terrible idea.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
This is not my cup of tea. Like I would get fired up about this for a week, and then I'd be like, oh, I'm not gonna reply to that. The automated thing will do it, and then I keep getting reminder after reminder. Well, you got to call this person. Don't forget. You know, they've looked at this property 6 times, and the leads keep coming in, and I'm feeling overwhelmed. And so, if you feel like you're that type of person, this is probably not for you. And there's nothing wrong with that. This is just another way to try to generate business. So for people that really like systems, maybe they don't have a huge network here, maybe they're a newer agent, maybe they're newer to town, maybe they just don't know with COVID, they don't really know how to go out and network with people anymore and keep that, keep building that database. So this is a really good option from that standpoint for that type of person, I think.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Maria.
I think what I like about BoomTown is that gives you a structure to start your day, a task, follow up, things that are easily to forget, especially for me during the day. But I think once I wake up at 5:30 in the morning or 6, and the first thing I do is just make sure that all my emails are answered and start searching for property for different buyers or sellers. And so I want to make sure that something is there for me, like a task oriented, and it seems to be BoomTown. But I go through the same problem. I get really into the program, and then it's overwhelming. So that's why I want to make sure that I am currently paying the $50, and I'm willing to pay the $100, but I just want to make sure that I'm going to not to be so overwhelmed at one point. Thanks.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. The $50 a month basically gives you, that just goes to BoomTown. BoomTown, if you want to do BoomTown on your own as a single agent, you're probably going to spend $1,200, $1,500 a month. I can't remember what it costs, but it's super expensive. And so we negotiated a deal with BoomTown to say, give our entire company access for not $1,200 a month per agent, for less than that. And so we've got that set up for all the agents. But basically as a give back from them, they said, we're going to give you like 95% of it, but there are a few really cool features that we're going to charge an extra $50 a month per agent for. And those features are something called the Now Wall, which is basically, I kind of joke and call it the mom wall, because it really is. It's like a parent that says like, hey, don't forget this person's done this and this person's done that, and you need to call them, and don't forget this person's looked at this property 4 times. I told you yesterday, have you not done it yet? So it's right there. You can still basically get all of that information, but it's right there. But in order to be a part of the marketing program, BoomTown requires the extra $50 a month to have the full suite, just so that it's effective. So some people will, even if you're not doing the $50 a month or the $100 plus the $50 a month, some people, you still have leads that come in, and even if you're not part of the system, and those are almost always based off of a listing that you have. Somebody ended up on the Village site looking at your listing, and they followed the links they looked at a few photos, and then they, signed in, created an account, and that lead's always going to go to the listing agent. So that's where the the leads are coming in from, even if you're not a part of this program.
I have a question, Zach.
Okay.
And it kind of goes with what Maria said as far as being overwhelmed. Can you do this for a period of time
So
and
we are
then
asking,
sign off, or is there a time commitment?
yeah, so we're asking everybody to commit to it for a year, primarily because we want it to be successful for you. And I don't want to see an agent spend $400 and then like just be like, well, I hadn't gotten anything out of it yet, and so I'm giving up.
Okay, that makes sense. And then how would those?
The company if you quit, right? But I think kind of on the honor system, we're asking everybody to commit to a year because we have some contractual obligations when we have to pay BoomTown for the advertising, because we can't change it every month and be like, well, this month we want to do 35, and this month we want to do 5,000, and they would probably.
Yeah. And then are the templates in there that Chris and Adam have tweaked? And
they're not in there yet, but we are. I don't think they're. Yeah, they might just be under. They might be under Chris's account, but we'll make them. We'll get them set up so that they can be village specific.
okay.
And with the $50 a month, you actually get your own phone number with BoomTown. So it's texting it from that phone number. If they call that number, it rings your phone. You have an app on your phone, so you're getting instant notifications when somebody does activity. You can call from that app if you wanted to call them from the app, and it will call from your BoomTown phone number and text from that BoomTown phone number. Basically, it tracks everything from that standpoint. But
I'll
I have a
also
question.
add- Yeah, I'll also add in for, it's kind of speaking to that, Virginia, is the other thing that you're going to find difficult is if you're not using BoomTown as your CRM, I think you're going to find a lot of difficulty in working the online leads. The real value for these leads is the fact that they're kind of coming in through the BoomTown CRM system. And then the tracking really goes into using the emailer from BoomTown, using the text messenger from BoomTown, logging your calls in BoomTown so that you can really sort of create this profile for each lead with what you've done and what's been done and what conversations have been had. So if you're going to try and get the lead and then you kind of work it outside, I think you're going to find some difficulty in having any sort of success with that. So kind of keep that in mind. Like if you're not that excited about using BoomTown as the CRM, I don't think that this is going to be very easy for you. And then also, I was talking about this with a new agent yesterday, it is kind of expensive, right? The referral and everything else. But really, when you think about it, like when I first started up, before the BoomTown leads were coming in, I was paying for other online leads that were $35 a lead. So, if in the BoomTown way, it was, maybe 1,000 leads and I had 5 closings. So
that's 35 times 1,000 is
$35,000 that I would have had. And that was leads that you're paying for as you get them, where this, you're really just paying for it if you have a closing, right? The $150 is pretty nominal per month. If you're successful, if you're able to do it, then yes, then you have to pay. But if you're not able to close those leads, you're not technically really paying for them, because $150 a month for 50 leads is, I don't think you can get that in any other sort of avenue with online leads at all. So, and especially for new agents, it's probably the lowest cost chance you have of even just being able to have conversations with people on any level, whether it's text message, email, or phone calls. I think it's a good opportunity. But again, you have to kind of work the system. But if you don't have a good sphere net, if you already have a vast network of people and you get a lot of referrals and everything else, you're probably going to hate this. But if you're a new agent, it's a great opportunity to build your sort of database, get comfortable talking with people, reaching out to people, sending people listings and stuff, and talking about real estate. And it's fairly low cost, at least to get started.
I agree with all of those things. And I do use BoomTown as the CRM. Let's see, I had a question. Oh, Do you find, I guess this is what makes texting most important, because I find with BoomTown, when I communicate with people, it does not go to their inbox. It goes to spam or social or whatever. And I always have to follow up with people to make sure that they got my email, which is a little frustrating. But
I think that's going to be, I think that's going to, you know, part of that is obviously email spam filters are getting better and better. And so that, I think to your point, there's a big benefit of text message from that standpoint. So yeah, it's really text, email, and phone call. Obviously, there's not a way to do an automated phone call. I think BoomTown is actually coming out with a program that, you know, it's a call center where they can do automated phone calls for you to really try to truly automate it. But at some point, you're going to have to pick up the ball and run with it. I don't know enough about that to know. But yes, BoomTown can basically automate the texting and the emailing. But the phone calls are going to be you. Andrea, in person, you had a question.
Yeah. Oh, for me or Andrea? Oh, go ahead.
Andrea, Brandon had one real quick. Yeah. So the question was, there was a program a few years ago called Volt, and that was basically a, you know, for any lead that came into the company, regardless, it would get distributed to an agent, and then there would be a referral of 25% or 30% for that. I don't like that. That feels like the company trying to basically charge agents for business. So this is set up really to cover the costs of, really just to cover the costs of the advertising campaign and the marketing and the management of all this process. This is not a profit center for Village. If it was a profit center, you'd be hearing me say like, this is great, let's all get done. It's not. I mean, that's why I want to be, we set it up to be as low as a referral fee as we can make it. But for any call-ins, walk-ins, leads on your listings, that's run with it. That's totally normal. So it's, yeah. And so that the way that we had it done before COVID was basically each office had a list of people who were interested in doing that. And to me, it felt like, especially for a walk-in, it's just pretty rare. It doesn't happen very often to have people coming down here on weekends and sitting here for 4 hours at a time. To me, it felt like a huge waste of time. I think there's a way better use of your time. So Rachel had a list. If there's a walk-in, she would basically just go down the list and say, hey, let me get you with somebody. And she would call you and say, you know, if you're not available, then she could keep going down the list and then kind of, you know, get you next time. So that it was an orderly thing. We'd just go in a rotation. That's kind of an on accident way to get leads, right? And so because it's on accident, I think it's really to try to charge somebody for that. This is a much more on purpose way, directly marketing likely buyers, targeting people to, you know, who are interested in searching for stuff. That makes sense? It'll be the same way, but yeah, same way. We'll just have a list of anybody who wants to participate in that. And I think we still have it, but you know. And then if somebody calls in on a specific agent's listing, we always want that to go to that agent. Yeah. But if it's like, hey, I was just into town and I see all signs everywhere and want to see if somebody can help me, then yeah, there's a process for that.
Oh, I have a question. So the more participants within our office, the lower the fees. Is that what you're saying?
No, the more participants. So basically, the more participants, the heavier the marketing budget is able to be, and the more you know, Google AdWords and other outlets that they use it's a pay-per-click basis. So the more money that we give them, the more times we'll pop up in the right spots and the more visibility we'll have.
Okay, yeah.
Well, we got one in-person question.
So I've,
I'll turn it down. You're good.
so I was talking with Chris yesterday, but I'd like to know from your perspective, Zach, like with people that you've worked with from the seller side, I think I kind of want to prioritize sellers, just because I'm more familiar with that. What would you say, with all your knowledge with BoomTown, how would you say it benefits targeting sellers?
All right, so question was how does target sellers? Chris, you may be able to answer this better than me. I'm of the opinion that BoomTown is really, really buyer focused. That being said, a lot of people who are buyers are also sellers. And so it ends up being a double-end transaction, right? If they want to buy, they've got a house to sell. More people who are more buyers have a house to sell than don't, if that makes sense. And so if you get the buyer, then a lot of times there's a seller that comes with it. There's not I don't think, it's targeting people. There's like in the Marketing Central piece, there's a way to promote your sold listings. And then the home valuation piece, right? But there's that, I don't think there's any marketing necessarily around the home valuation piece through this. This is primarily targeted to buyers.
I don't think that any of my understanding is, because I have had 3 listing opportunities from BoomTown, but I don't think that they were really from advertising. I think it's more people that end up on the Village site or kind of through maybe the buyer advertising end up into sort of like the home valuation. And then you sort of capture that information, and then it's sort of up to you to kind of reach out to them. You do get that's like, oh, someone just did a home valuation on this address. And then it's sort of like kind of trying to get in contact with them. And then also there are people that I think one of them was a home valuation. I think the other ones were actually just what I thought were buyers sort of searching. And then it was my contact with them. And then it was like, oh yeah, I'm actually like, I want to put my house on the market. And I was just kind of looking at other homes in my area that were selling and like trying to see. And then that was sort of how we captured to be like, oh great, like I'd love to stop by and, give you my price opinion. But I still think that it was actually through buyer advertising or kind of buyer centric, but they were looking at what was going on in the market because they were interested in selling their home and they wanted to see what other people were sort of, what else was out there.
Cool. Yeah, so I think I agree. We got one more. You want to unmute yourself and then we can.
Working the system through Chris for several months. If we're on the paid format, when could we expect the round robin to begin?
So if you're on the paid format, when do you expect the round robin to begin? So we're doing this class now, and then we're doing. Is it next Friday? Last Friday of the month. So this is really a time to think about it, understand it a little bit more, and say, hey, this feels like I could be a good fit. I think I want to do it. And then ask us questions. Ask questions. Yeah. And then if you're in the office, I'm volunteering for this, but you're in the office a lot. You come by and say, hey, like, can I just look over your shoulder while you're doing a couple of things and see what you're doing? What does it look like? You're in the room with somebody. Give you a little bit of time to figure that out. And then if you decide you want to do it, then 2 weeks from now, we will basically roll it out, get everybody set up, and then, we'll have it down. Once we know by then, I'll be able to tell them down. All right, here's your contract for X amount of dollars per month, and then we'll go from there. So effectively, immediately. Yeah, we're not, everybody's gonna get a month free, so also just that, I don't think I made that clear, but we're not gonna get a bill right in February, so we'll pay for it in February, but that'll just to kind of, there's gonna be some hiccups and learning curves and things like that, so. Andrea's got one.
Okay, so let's say right now, you're kind of like, okay, this is not like the time we need to focus on this, but maybe in 6 months.
Yeah, totally.
Is that?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, this is, I mean, yeah, this is not a once in a lifetime opportunity. It was tough because I've had a lot of people ask me, hey, I want to do it, I want to do it. And we've kept the group that Chris and Adam have been leading pretty small because I didn't want to get so big that it was just unwieldy, right? So, we've got, I think we got a pretty good system dialed in, and yes, this is just the first round, and if you want to do it in 2 months, we can do that.
I have a question. Are Chris and Adam for hire to be able to set this whole thing up, or is it definitely that's not even an option?
Hold on 1 second. I'm going to mute you. We're going to set. That's part of what we're going to do next. In 2 weeks from now, that's going to be a very hands-on time, and we'll get you all set up. So yeah, I mean, Chris is helping to kind of lead this, and he can be there for questions on specifics because he's most familiar with it. But it's, again, it's once he's dialed in the systems and the formats and the drip campaigns in a way that we can just say, all right, share those with the company, and boom, you can automate it so that every time a lead comes in, these are the 10 things that happen. This is when they happen, you know. And then again, a lot of it's an if this and that. So, 7 minutes after a lead comes in, they get a text message saying, hey, thanks, for checking out XYZ property. My name is Chris, whatever it says. And then there's usually a question at the end. And then if there's no response, then it might send them another one, or it'll send them an email. If there is a response, it'll stop that campaign and could start another one. So there's a lot of ways where it's AI being smart, artificial intelligence, right?
Well, since I have all my contacts already downloaded into BoomTown, and I'm already paying the $50, I can go ahead and pay the $100. I just like to activate that and start practicing and see. So next time when we get together again, at least I have a smart question, and so we can proceed with the training.
Yeah, if you want to get a jump start, Chris said to find him in advance. But basically, there's no difference. The only difference with the extra $100 is there'll be more activity, more leads coming in. Does that make sense? So all of your systems, if you pay the $50 now, you've got the full suite of BoomTown. You've got access to all the drip campaigns now. What we can do, I guess, is maybe what you're asking is, hey, can we, as you unlock those drip campaigns, we can.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think they're locked. So because right now it's like I'm not there at all.
I see. Yeah, I think talk to Chris and he'll get you set up on that.
Okay.
Hey,
thanks.
Zach.
Yeah.
Zach.
Yeah.
So is there a start time that you're looking for this? Because I know it depends on the number of people. So, are you saying, okay, by Friday, we'll have X number of people signed up, and then you kind of know what you're doing for advertising?
Probably over the next 2 weeks. So by Friday morning at 10, we'll have an info session. And then, so let's say let's have a target of by next Friday, have a commitment to do this or not. If we need a couple extra days, but yeah, spend a week and a half deciding if you want.
Great. Sounds great.
Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you.
Out for a month or two and then see how it's going. Totally fine as well. Again, this is really, we're trying to set this up as a service for people that want it, not as a, hey, everybody has got to do this. And one thing to clarify, nobody's asked this, but it made me think, if you've already got leads in your stuff like that, there are no referral fees for that. This is strictly stuff. The only referral fees are things that come off of the marketing efforts.
When Chris was explaining to us earlier about the whole system, are you, like, in order to assess whether we're handling the income needs appropriately, are you going to have some type of responsibility? Like, are you checking to see, yes, you're responding, yes, you're such. Because what I find is that sometimes I automatically, depending on the conversation, transition my personal.
Yeah.
So like,
You're not going to get in trouble. Yeah. So the question was, is there accountability? We're going to shame you to make sure every day to make sure that you know that they're messing up. 100%. So yeah, again, it works, as Chris said, it works best if you fully adopt the system and you dive into it. Maybe that's not just, some people, that's just not how you work. I don't want to mess up your business by saying you have to do it this way. But I think, I think if you do that, Chris has said that he's proven that works. But this is if this works for you, it works for you. If it stops working for you, then, we have, there's all kind of metrics that we can look at and say, here, Chris, I'm gonna turn this down. Will you unmute?
Yeah, so if you're working the leads outside of BoomTown, we are going to have to require that you are doing something in BoomTown so that we know something's happening. You can just, I mean, as simple as just categorizing that lead as into whatever, just so that we know, because if there's 1,000 leads in your BoomTown list, and it looks like not a single one of them has been contacted, we're going to assume that there's 1,000 people in there that have had zero contact at all whatsoever. So there is going to have to be something that you're going to have to do. Now, you don't, if you're taking that lead and you're putting it into a different CRM, then it's just going to be kind of an honor thing, right? And if it's working for you, great. But there will have to be something that you do in BoomTown, and it takes 2 seconds. You can just, the lead comes in, you can just hit, once you put them in your other CRM, you can just categorize them as like archive or whatever. And then at least we know that something happened. It's not just a lead that came in there and nothing happened with them. So I think we'll have to come up with something like that, because we will be able to run metrics and see, if you have, if you've gotten 100 leads and 75 of them are still categorized as new, we're going to assume that you're not working the leads at all.
Which is ultimately bad for the consumer too. It's like, if somebody's looking and not getting followed up with,
right. I just because the irony is I'm looking at my phone, and I'm like, I talk to these people all the time, but it's on my phone, it's access through Facebook, and they're in here.
Yeah, I think
realizing that you looked at it and you're like, she's not talking to anybody.
Yeah.
I'm talking to people, so that's what I'm trying to engage.
Yeah, I think if you just do a really simple, and then just let us know, obviously. Because we'll probably ask. We'll probably say, hey, we noticed you've gotten 100 leads. They're all still new and there hasn't been any contacts. And then you can just tell us like, oh no, I take all of them out into my other CRM and I'm emailing them personally and texting them personally. If that works for you, then that's great. Well, but we'll just, we'll ask, because for us, it'll look like nothing's happening.
great. What else? So think about it. If this is something you think you want to do, great. If it's something you feel like it's not a good fit for you, you just want to sit on the sidelines for a few months, totally fine as well. Chris, thank you for, you really dialed in this program. So again, this is we've kind of done a trial test, and this is a way to roll it out with more effectiveness and get people more business who want to get business this way. Chris, happy to talk to anybody else who has a question. Chris says he just, you owe him drinks, dinner, and a huge referral fee. All right, well, that's all I got. Sorry to be, have the tech difficulties and have everybody delayed, but appreciate y'all's patience. And then if you have any other questions, check with Chris. And again, he's around the 24 hours a little bit. So thank you.
Thanks so much. Thank you. Thanks so much for your help.
Oh, absolutely. Y'all take care.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank